to episode 2 of Business Blondes. And we are delighted to be back with you. But before we start, we wanted to take the opportunity to congratulate our fabulous Caroline Rice for your birthday.
Happy birthday, Caroline.
I'm cheering you with my Business Blondes mug.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is water. It's not you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm having a lovely day, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to broadcast on this special day. It's a landmark birthday, and also we're just saying it's a new moon tonight, so you can make lots of big wishes for yourself and your business and your friends and your family too.
Yay!
Fabulous.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I absolutely love it. So it's fallen to me this week to do the hosting. So I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Last week, for everybody who saw me doing this, it's because I was the one that was monitoring the live comments on the social media. And this week that falls to my lovely co-host, Sam. So if you see Sam looking over there, it's not because she's not interested. It's because she's making sure that we are responding to all the lovely people who have been kind enough to listen in and to make comments. So please do get involved. We also would love to have more guests. And I've had some fascinating conversations this week with people saying, do I have to be blonde and female to join in? And absolutely not. We want this to be really diverse. So more the merrier, everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter about your gender, your hair color, your race. It's just about being real and being in business. And this week we wanted to really take a moment to think about the good news. There's been so much bad news that's out there, and there still is. But actually there are positives. There are things that are going well for people. And we wanted to be able to talk about some of those things that actually can balance the scales for us right now around what's not going well and what is going well. So we wanted to take the chance to be able to share some of the things that have really been brightening up, some of the businesses that are really taking off and seeing some real growth. So Caroline, can I start with you? What are some of the areas where you've seen from your clients and that real opportunities and growth, please?
Well, I would say it is the ability to reinvent. I think if you have a small business, that you have agility and flexibility to change on a dime, basically, unlike a huge corporation where it takes months and months of planning to change. People are bending with the current time. So there's been an exponential, massive leap in people wanting coaches for health, well-being, corporate leadership, time management, having greater focus. So that's great news for coaches, but also people wanting to become coaches or thinking, how can I do something different with my life? And I think that is the good news. People are being much more creative in their businesses. And I think it's the small businesses that will ride this out, this strange storm we're in. I have a friend, for example, she was a caterer. Well, obviously there's no events now. What she started to do is some amazing chili jam and chutneys, and all the small restaurants near us, which seem to be absolutely packed every night because no one wants to take a train into central London. So the tiny tapas bar that would have 3 customers is now packed every night, and she's selling her chili jam for little locals, and that's a lovely kind of good news story, and how to go from being a top caterer to providing a different service to people. So I think people are being very creative with what they do.
I love it. And that creativity, and I did think this when we chatted, at the start of lockdown, whenever there is a moment of pause, that's when real entrepreneurial spirit kicks in, isn't it? And in every unfortunate situation that's happened, every recession that we've had, out of it is born something new, because people are given that chance to just think differently, I guess, and to have that moment to recreate. And I know last week we had some fabulous people that were commenting that had taken their reflexology businesses and their healing businesses and had taken those online as well. So it's amazing just what can be done if we think outside the box, isn't it? And do think, just think a little bit differently. So Penny, how about you? What have you found?
Well, I think you all know, or maybe not everybody listening knows, that community matters a lot to me. We started one 22 years ago. And I'm really seeing the growth in people's opportunity to create their own communities around their businesses and join great communities, and how much people are really learning how to engage better in those communities as well. So I think there's an incredible opportunity for people as part of their, whether they sort of have it as part of their income stream or they just use it as part of their revenue, as their marketing. Massive opportunity to start building community around your business now. So we're seeing a really big growth in our community that we have, which is really exciting. We're also, what I really love, because I'm very much about getting to know people quite deeply, I'm just seeing that people, they've been quite lonely. I think people are learning to adapt to this more isolated world and having to find skills and resources inside themselves to really communicate at a different level in a different way. And I think there's a massive opportunity to go a bit deeper when you get to, when you come across someone in a community or social media, when you think, actually, I quite like that person, actually send them a private message and ask if you can have a conversation with them, and not do it in a transactional way, but do it in a really friendly way where you're reaching out and becoming friends. And I'm seeing and hearing of some really deep friendships building that way by people. So I think there's just this connection that people can have now. There's a really big opportunity there. So that, I think that's really exciting. That's starting to use. When we started Academy, we were all about social networking, and then social media came in. And it's sort of, I always thought social networking was about networking, media is about broadcast. And I think people need to get back to that real, true, beautiful world of networking with one another. And communities are a great way to do that.
Absolutely. And I think, I've always thought it was a shame that we chose the term socially distanced, because as social animals, we need to stay connected, don't we? And I think we needed to be physically distanced and socially connected. And I think that need to be connected is driving a lot more people wanting to network, a lot more people wanting to build that community. But it is all about relationships. It's all about how do we get to know, like, and trust people, and how do we really connect and listen to them to understand them, because we all want to be understood, don't we? And we have a story. So I think what I've found, certainly from a lot of my clients, it certainly matches Penny, what you were just saying, is there's so much more drive to create those really lasting relationships, to understand how people are feeling right now, and to connect with them, and to feel like you're in it together, as opposed to you're just there selling to them.
Yeah. And remember, because we four had our lunch this week, and it was incredible, wasn't it, to actually get together. And I think we have to remember that we can still meet. We can still meet one another. We can, go out and have lunch with someone or have a coffee with someone. So that local community networking, I think, is really powerful as well. So, I think
what's been good for you, Sam? What's been good in your business, Sam?
So I've noticed, or actually this week was the end of a year in one of my mastermind programs, and we were reflecting, and obviously that reflection covered the time that we've spent in lockdown, coming out of lockdown, and further restrictions. And one guy who owned a sign making company, his profits have quadrupled this year. So if that's not a good news story, I don't know what is. But there was a massive transition in him. So he more or less closed the doors when the lockdown happened, sat back, was going to have the summer off. In fact, the first we saw him, he was in the garden in his slippers. And then, due to the brilliant advice of the peer group, he diversified, obviously making perspex screening and signage for social distancing and directions for retail outlets. As I say, quadrupled his sales. So he's having a massive success story during the time when it's been a real challenge. But Lorna Balkin, who is watching us today, hi Lorna, thank you for joining us. She has said that the lockdown has allowed her to start a coaching business with her daughter. So congratulations to you, Lorna. Every success to you. Well done. Well done.
Also, I know Lorna. She's also recorded one of her first songs and put it on YouTube, but it's actually a cover. It's Rise Up by Andra Day, and it's absolutely beautiful. So check it out on YouTube. Lorna Balkin singing Rise Up. She's got a beautiful voice, but she did that.
How beautiful.
Lorna.
What about you, Kim?
Yeah, so I guess mine's been quite similar. So people have been people have had some amazing opportunities, and they've had some real challenges. And actually, this morning I had the delight of meeting one of my networking groups, and we met for the first time face to face. There was only 4 of us, so we were, able to do that socially distanced. But it was lovely to hear how they had bounced back. One of my lovely ladies, Lynn, she's in travel, so as you know, it's been a horrendous hit on the travel industry, and how that pulls back. But during lockdown, she was able to really start to grow herself and her brand. So she's now the columnist in our local newspaper every week, talking about travel. And as we're now able to start to travel, she's really starting to see her business take off, because she was able to build herself out there as a source of knowledge around what it is that we're looking for. So I think even those businesses that have been hit, when people have continued to show up, continued to be there and be consistent and share their knowledge, it's actually keeping them in good stead. So I think for me, it's those parts that say, even though it's tough sometimes, even though you keep turning up, you keep putting your content out there, and it might feel like you're not getting anywhere. And certainly I was talking to a lovely lady last night who was in that place. It's like, you've just got to trust that if you're doing the right thing, if you're putting the right things out there, if you're being consistent, that actually it will work, it will come back, it will find you.
Yeah, it's finding that consistency, isn't it? That not giving up on an idea too quickly. I've had quite a lot of people who are being made redundant contact me now in the last week. I think the furlough thing, and there's such a huge opportunity for people that have these incredible skills for them to start to redesign their life and to go into being a business owner. And so last week we were at a digital dinners thing, and that was full of, I think I mentioned it last week, full of people having who are from the online world. And I think we're seeing a lot of growth in anybody who does personal branding, anybody who does email marketing, anybody who knows how to help businesses go online. And I think they mustn't forget there's a wealth of people in LinkedIn that are in the corporate world that need their skills. And are probably thinking, well, I'm furloughed, but I need to start taking control now. I think there's a huge opportunity now to help people transition into this wonderful world of owning your own business. And that's life-changing, isn't it, once you've done that? It's so fantastic.
It is. I mean, there is, don't get me wrong, as we all know, that's why we kind of do this, to share with people, isn't it? There are challenges within running your own business, and sometimes it can feel a little bit lonely. I know certainly when I first started out, you suddenly finish your corporate role, and then you start your new business, and you're really excited, and then you get to day one, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm like HR, I'm payroll, I'm IT, I'm marketing. How did that happen? It's like I only just somebody else to do that. But the joy of being able to run your own business, and is so sad for how many people are being impacted at the moment with redundancies. And I think what's really important is for them to realize that even though it is them that's being impacted, it's them that's lost their job, it's not as a result of them. Because I think often, unfortunately, companies handle redundancies really badly, and the person who's made it feels like they aren't good enough, that actually it was something about them and their skill. And it's so not true. Having sadly had to run some myself, the bit that's important to remember is the person that's made redundant hadn't got a choice. There was nothing that they could have done to change that outcome. And it's not because they're not good enough, it's not because their skills aren't excellent, and it's not because they're not worthwhile, it's because the organization wasn't able to sustain the growth that they were in. So I think you've got to, for anybody who's in that position, think about all the skills and the knowledge that you've got, because that's shareable. And the one area, the one industry that's in significant growth is the knowledge industry, because we sometimes undervalue, don't we, the knowledge that we've got. And I know some of you've done similar with some of your clients, haven't you, which is getting them to recognize that what they know already is really valuable, and to other people, that's going to really help them if they can share it. And people will pay for that knowledge, because we want to get there faster than having to learn it for ourselves. If you could share with us, Sam, some of your examples, please. Anna.
Valerie Dyer.
Shall we plug in while her internet? I think
Oh, you're back.
You're back. One of the things, are you there, Sam? This internet's
Yeah,
fun.
here. Can you see
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Okay.
It's being live though, isn't it? This is what happens. You know, I'm sure everybody's been in these positions where they're on a Zoom and all of a sudden they get that awful moment where you're frozen and you just have to hope you're not pulling an awful face. So, Sam.
But I want,
Well, I probably was, but let me move over to sorry,
shall I
launched a life change book. You've got this, no matter what, steps to reinvent your life.
I love it.
Yeah, that sounds great. I was going to say, looking at the bigger market, Waterstones has had a 30% profit rise in this year alone, which says that people are reading books more, which has always got to be a good thing. So I would say for small businesses, think about, could you self-publish a book? You know, and people are reading more. They've got a little bit more time. So I think it's fantastic news that profits are going up in bookshops. People are wanting to spend time reading about stuff, learning things. And I think the one bit of good news about lockdown of the last year has been that people have had to get out their comfort zone and learn a few new things, like the dreaded tech, about doing podcasts, about writing newsletters and things, because the old ways weren't there for them. So I think that there's some really exciting creative opportunities that are happening for people in the written word now as well.
Yeah, actually, can I add to that, Caroline? Because I get my royalty statement on my book, which is available on ebook or Audible or written. And I think because a lot of people are doing a lot more self-care and have got time to go out on bike rides or walks, my Audible sales have gone up a lot. Now, it was pretty killing going into the studio to record it. I had visions of this sound engineer that kept pressing pause and saying that sentence again. We're thinking, it sounded all right to me. But it's been really worthwhile. So if anybody's got a book already and they want to reignite it, I think to turn it into an audio book would be brilliant. I'm so happy I went out with audio as well.
No, that's great advice, Penny. And actually, I feel your pains. This week, I had the joy of having to record my chapter for the Women Leading book, and it's
so hard. I literally went into professionals because it's best to go into, and he had it was like I went into a spaceship and then into a little room my own, and if he heard a slight croak in my voice or a slight pause or anything, he would tell me. But it's really worth it. It's really worth doing it. The other thing we were chatting about, all of us, was all the the wider market of amazing things that are happening. You talked about the jams and everything, Caroline, but I was talking about e-bike sales have gone incredibly, and when we decided to get an e-bike, it was really hard to get one. And camper vans, motorhomes, they've gone crazy. People taking up yoga and online fitness, this really indicates that we're all getting a bit better life balance, doesn't it, as well, which is, long waited for many of us. That. Are you seeing that with your clients, Caroline? Are they talking more about life balance?
They are, and I think, as I said last week, it's about focus and clarity is what they're struggling with at the moment. It's like, yes, there's a lot of time to do extra things, but getting focus and clarity on their business is what's tough, because it's shifting sands at the moment. 1 minute you can meet, now it's a rule of 6. 1 week you can do 1 week, now you can't. But I think still have the plan, still create your dreams, and it will all come back. Eventually society will reform, and those who've got their plan in place will be the ones flying out of the tunnel laughing. But I do think, yes, people are thinking also not just about health and leisure, but like ethical things. I've got a client who's going into making bridal veils, and she was saying the fashion industry really want ethical fabrics now, things that aren't disposable, keepsakes.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
That is a really good thing, isn't it? I mean, also. Sorry, Sam. No, Sam's having a problem with her Wi-Fi.
I think there's been a big. Can you not hear me?
Can now.
Freeze a bit.
It's not frozen on my screen, so apologies for this. This must be really frustrating if I keep dipping in and out mid-sentence. But I think there's been a huge reflection on our wardrobes, hasn't there? Both men and, you know, obviously we haven't needed to buy as much this season or last season because we're not going out. So therefore, how much do we actually?
I agree.
Are we overbuying? And I think that's been a big shift.
Yeah, I think we need to remember a lot of people have got more money in their, bank accounts from not commuting, not spending like that. You know, I think some people, I know we all know this, some of our clients have gone into scarcity, but actually, some people have got money, they've got it. They're wisely thinking about how now do I spend it to improve my life and learn new skills and things. So I think we've got to remember that a lot of people have really reduced their costs significantly.
I think they have, but they also want experiences. I think experiences are what sell these days, is say like keepsakes. But equally, if you're not going out much, drink better wine at home. 50, 60, 100 pounds on a meal out, buy a really good bottle of wine. So I think small independent wine merchants are again doing quite well because they can deliver 6 bottles in the local area. People aren't going out, have a lovely event at home.
Yeah. And then, sorry, Kim, you were going to say something.
I was just going to add to that, Caroline, because I was talking to a friend of mine, and they are a local independent wine shop, and they've been doing online wine tastings. So people buy the wines at home and get them delivered, but then they go online and actually do the tasting, and it's really boosted their business. And it's ended up not even being local. They've got people from around the UK that are joining in as well. And so I think it is about putting back that luxury, isn't it?
Yeah.
Find something a little bit special, and that's good for small businesses.
Yeah. So I suppose a lot of people went into fear and
I think
at the beginning and had that sort of fixed mindset that I can't change my business, but I'll just wait for normal to come back. But I guess we're now in a phase where people are realizing this new normal is here to stay. We talked about that last week. And I think there is this now big momentum happening about how can I pivot my business? What creative things can I do? And it's really exciting to plug into it, isn't it? And hear about them.
Absolutely. And some people have used it, I think, as an opportunity to make a change. They realized that what they were doing before wasn't really what they wanted to do. It wasn't something that they enjoyed doing. So actually, can they now make a living out of something that they really enjoy? And there's been some amazing examples of that, hasn't there, where people have kind of just embraced something that they love or a hobby that they've got and turn that into a business too.
Yeah. I love that Dr. Carol Dweck's book on growth mindset. And there was a lot when I read it thinking, God, I know when I've got a fixed mindset, I must learn that trigger. I think a lot of people have been looking for proof why their life can't be any better. They've got that fixed mindset. But, I really think we need to, like tomorrow, I'm getting together again with masterminds, and I think we've got to remember that we can still do a lot that we used to do. I think that's really important. We don't have to completely change everything. We just have to realise that, Carol Ann, you've been loving the restaurants and doing
I think I'm probably on my 40th restaurant meal, and my waistline not being very forgiving at the moment. But I am a bon vivant. I love eating out. I think anyone who's got a restaurant, it's an act of love. It's my job to support that act of love. So, even a coffee, a glass of wine, a bowl of olives, get out there.
Absolutely. I think it's really important because I think even myself, I've got into that. I sometimes have to remind myself how much we're not so locked down now. We can go out, and hopefully, if we're all sensible, that's not going to happen, and we can start planning and seeing friends and meeting up for networking with small groups, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is putting ourselves back out there, isn't it, and keeping ourselves safe, making sure that we follow in the rules, but we can meet each other. I mean, we had an amazing time. flew on Tuesday, and I think it's that kind of reconnection. And Caroline, I think Scarlett is desperately trying to follow in your footsteps, because she constantly tells me every night, it's like, Mummy, could we go here for dinner, please, or there for dinner? So she'd have me at the steakhouse every night if she could.
Right.
But it's really helping support local businesses. She's
Absolutely.
But even something like the gift industry, I've had today some amazing things come through the post. So people who've got small businesses can do home deliveries that way.
Yeah.
If you're not actually seeing your friend for a birthday drink or anniversary, you can send special things now. And I think that's really opened up that market too.
Yeah, and even if you're delivering something online, these things behind me, these boxes, these are gifts to my members who are joining something we've just launched. I'm not wanting to plug it, but I think we can make even the online tangible for people as well. So Sam, I know you've got something to say. Do you want to have a go?
Well, I'm scared to talk just in case you lose me. Can you?
We can hear you.
You can hear me. Yeah, I was just about to say that we've all had dipping in and out of the world of TV today, but yeah, we've all had to embrace it, and we need to get better. And I think just because lockdown is or has been restricted doesn't mean that we don't need to keep focusing in this area and getting better and better and better. We all need on energy of others. I love face-to-face contact, but I have to ensure that I'm able to deliver my services.
Yeah.
Really upskill myself in technology over the last few months. And I'm fearful that we're all shrinking back into, oh, it's a now. But actually, we need to continue on that journey. And, as a positive moving forward, let's make sure that we are more visible online, that our brand is stronger and we grow and we don't just shrivel back to being polite. Let's really cause disruption. Let's make a noise out there and be heard.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a really good tip, Sam. And I have a tip for everyone as well. Given that books are on the rise and Waterstone's 30% profit, write your ebook now. And if you're worried about writing, you can speak it into your phone and the phone will do the words for you. You can do it on Word, and there's a thing on Windows now. It will read it back to you so you can hear the cadence of your words. So you don't have to be a brilliant writer. Get the ebook out there now is my tip of the week this week.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, Kim, your ebook is one of the best that I've ever seen. It really stunned me, the value you give in it. I know we're not doing big plugs here, but I think as an example of an ebook, where can people see as your ebook as an example, Kim?
So I'm a little bit stunned. Thank you. That was such lovely feedback. If you go on to www.kimadel.org, it's a place to download, and it is free. And bless you for seeing.
No, seriously, it's phenomenal. And well, my I suppose I talked a bit about it, but I really want to push it through. Is this thing of connecting deeper with people, because I think now is the time to start to really bond with some. I mean, when I look at my social capital and the people that Thomas and I have now known for 22 years in business and gone on a journey with, who keep turning up and supporting us when we have new ideas and believe in us, that's because we've taken time to deeply know people. And I think, now is the time, especially when people are a bit more vulnerable, to have deep relationships with people, talk deeply, support people, love people, care for people. And so don't do everything just out in the public realm. Send some private messages to people to show that you are interested and care for them.
I love it. And that's so true, Penny. We've got to really connect with people. And can you believe our half an hour is up? I know we as girls can talk, but it seems to flow so easily. And I think you've shared some amazing tips. I think mine would be, whenever something good happens, write it down. So that actually on those moments where you are struggling to find that positivity, where you're struggling to find the energy, you can go back to that. I call it my little book of joy, but you can go back and flick through it, and you get a reminder of those feelings of actually when you've done well, when people have said thank you, when you've had a real positive impact, and you can use that to spur you on to do the next thing. And I think also we sometimes worry about having to climb the whole mountain. And like with any mountain climb, you take it a step at a time. So instead of thinking about how do I get there, just go, what's the next thing that I could do, and do that, because you'll be surprised how quickly you can move forward. So I'm very conscious that we have over slightly, so forgive us, but we hope that you've enjoyed it, and thanks so much for all the people that have watched and have shared comments with us. And we'll be here again next week at 1 p.m. live. You can also find us at www.businessblondes.tv. We would really like to hear from guests, and the more diverse the better. This is really about keeping it real and having an ability to just share and chat with other people in business about what it's really like right now, and what hints and tips that can be found to help us all to thrive together. So on that note, I will say goodbye on behalf of all of us. Have an amazing week, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.